I see people logging in. Thank you so much and welcome. All right, we can go ahead and get started. Welcome, everyone. My name is Idalia Tiscareño. I am a marketing specialist here at your El Paso Hispanic Chamber of Commerce and your Women's Business Border Center. Today, we have a great speaker, awesome guest. We're super excited to have him, Dr. Bill Mitchell. How are you, Dr. Mitchell?
I am doing very well today. How are you doing?
I am great. I'm so excited to have this session just because we've been looking forward to our conversation. You have, I feel, a lot of insight to give us. So I'm very excited to, get some answers from you. So let's go ahead and get started. Like I said, today you're joining the Learn to Thrive and Survive with Dr. Bill Mitchell virtual session. My name is Idalia Tiscareño, marketing specialist with the WBBC. So before we get started, I do want to have an announcement. So we just got approved for more money to give out to businesses located in the county. So if you're located in Anthony, Canutillo, Clint, Fabian, San Elizario, Socorro, Tornillo, Vinton, any of those areas, you can qualify for a grant. We have grants from $1,500 up to $5,000. So go ahead and give us a call at 915-566-4066. You can also visit our website at www.ephcc.org to fill out the application, okay? Also, we still have small business survival kits for COVID. They do contain hand sanitizers, masks, retooling sign for your door, social distancing decals. So we have all of these goodies. You don't have to be in the county. You can also be in the city for this particular program. So go ahead and give us a call, send us a message through Facebook, through Instagram, anywhere. We can go ahead and help you. So let's go ahead and get started. Dr. Bill Mitchell. So I want to introduce him properly. And I do want to read a little bit about him. So Bill is the COO for More Talent Corporation. Prior, Bill was the president and CEO of Aguila, a Foxconn company, and a VP of business operations for the Foxconn Corporation. Dr. Mitchell is known for his success in helping develop organizations with value-based cultures. Over the past 25 years, Bill has worked with more than 500 corporations and organizations, helping develop best-of-breed practices to provide long-term success. He has served as the executive coach and corporate psychologist for many current leading corporations. He provides unique insights into the development of policy, process, and people that serve as a catalyst for systematic, sustainable growth. Over 30 years of professional public speaking, Bill has motivated audiences in 47 states and 5 continents. He has designed or presented training in the areas of teamwork, ethics and leadership, communication, corporate culture, and many more. His unique conversational style and subtle humor allow him to instruct, inspire, and impact audiences from all walks of life. So after reading that, you can definitely tell why we're so excited to have him. Welcome, Dr. Mitchell.
Well, thank you so much. I hope I don't disappoint anybody. Thank you very much. I don't know who wrote that, but I own a dinner or something.
No, I mean, right off the bat, we can tell you have a lot of insights. So we're super excited. And I mean, I think we can go ahead and get started. I do want to remind everyone, if you are logged in via Zoom, if you register via Zoom, we are accepting questions. So you can leave them either on the chat, which is at the bottom of your screen, or on the Q&A panel, also located at the bottom of your screen. You do have the option of leaving your question anonymous, or you can leave your name. That's absolutely up to you. And if you're joining us via Facebook Live, you can also leave your questions via the comments section. Or if you want to remain anonymous, you can send it to us via Facebook message. So feel free to do that. We do have another staff member on standby monitoring those questions for us, and they'll be sending them to me as well, okay? Awesome. So let's get started with the first question, Dr. Mitchell. I know, so right now we're working from home. A lot of us are working from home. Some other offices have been able to open. So what is your insight on coping with the stress and promote the well-being in a workplace that is actually at home? So how do we control that? Let's go ahead and start with that question.
Well, that's a broad question. There's a number of different things that we can do. I'm also right now serving as the COO, Chief Operations Officer for iStream Financial Services, which is a technology company. And I've been helping, they're all working remotely as well. Quite a few it's a bigger company, a lot of remote employees. And so I've been helping them develop the right kind of work environment. So there's several things that I think are important in working from home. If you're the CEO, the owner of the business, especially if it's a smaller business and you don't have a huge team, there's a few things that are important in any company, but they become even more important with a remote workforce. So I'll go through a couple tips. The first thing is communication. I've been working, as you know, as you mentioned, with companies for going on 30 years now. The two biggest challenges of every corporation are trust and communication. And that's true when we're in person, seeing everybody every day, able to walk in, see them in their cubicle, in their office, see them on the job, in their location, whatever it might be. But whenever we're in this situation where we're hardly seeing people, we can't just walk down the hall, or we can't stop by the job site, depending upon the kind of business or whatever, like we normally could, without great effort. Trust and communication, though they're always important, now they're even more paramount. They're really at the top. And so you've got to be very, very intentional about building trust and working on having just a high level of effective communication. And so there's a couple tips that I would give people when it comes from a management or leadership standpoint, or even if just as an employee standpoint. I always tell the people that work for me, communication is your responsibility. So I call it the 2X factor. Whenever it comes to communication, we need to do twice as much of it. It doesn't mean that we need to have meetings that run twice as long, but we need to give opportunity to communicate 2 times more. So for instance, if you were say you had a staff meeting every Monday for an hour, my suggestion is, rather than have one staff meeting for an hour on Monday, have a staff meeting for 30 minutes on Monday, and then maybe another meeting on Thursday for another half hour, just to increase the frequency and the visibility. There's an old expression: the less accessible you are, the more visible you need to be from a leader, for leaders and leadership standpoints. So that's something that I would recommend that they do, that they increase the number of meetings. I've also suggested a lot of people have regular stand-up meetings. Those are in a person. You can Google and see how to hold them. But typically in a person meeting, everybody comes into a room, they stand up because you want to keep it short, and go around, what do you need? What do you need? What do you need? What do you need? What do you have? And, and everybody can share real quick, just kind of a circling the wagons type of meeting. I would recommend that some companies, it might be good for you to do that 5 minutes at the end of the day or at the beginning of the day. It's also a great opportunity to kind of hold your people accountable if you're not sure if they're starting their day on time, they're still in their PJs or whatever. Another thing that I would recommend, and I can shut up, we can dive deeper, or there may be some questions around this, is that you have a video on policy. There's a lot now, because we've been doing this for almost a year. Globally, we have almost a year, and there's science and studies that are coming out about the value of having the video on. And I know that, people put these cute little pictures of kittens and dogs and butterflies and everything else. That's fine. But there is so much that we lose without having face-to-face conversation. This is not ideal, but is certainly a good substitute. And so you're going to get a lot more bang for your buck by having people have their videos on. So I would institute a video on policy. For people that are working from home, I would try to dedicate an area and set up. I'm fortunate, I've got a home office. Not everybody has that. Some people, their home office is their dining room table, but I would try to designate an area where you have your work and your life separate. I encourage people to have conferences with people that they live with. A lot of times you have multiple people in the same household, whether spouses or whatever, all working from home. And so laying some ground rules, setting things up. I had my son, his wife, and their 2-year-old daughter staying with us while their house was getting ready here a while back.
Mm.
And there were, on more than one occasion, she found her way into my work office, even though it's way back in the back of the house, and came walking in and talking loud as she could. It's not her fault. She's two. But as business owners, you need to be understanding that that kind of stuff is going to happen. And I think we all just, it's a different world, and it's tough enough working from home. We can relax. If your dog jumps in your lap, or, the kid walks in, it's okay. That's okay. So there's just some things that I would encourage you to do. There's a lot more I'm doing with the corporation that I'm working as COO for. We have an all hands meeting every Monday morning, and I do about a 3 to 5 minute tips from working at home and staying sane every week with them. And so I've got a lot of material I can talk about it here, but that's something that you might even consider with your companies. The folks that are listening, you might consider doing that as well. So I hope that helps. I hope that answers
Of
your
course. No,
question.
yes, definitely. And I agree. I mean, personally, so I did have to work from home for about a week and a half. All of us here in the office adjusting to our situation, right? And I even told Cindy Ramos Davidson, our CEO, that I told her I was not a fan of working from home, just because, like you said, you have to find that space at home to, be comfortable, to be productive. And it's difficult. I have a dog. She was barking the whole time,
Yeah.
especially during conferences, which was terrible. And you did mention how, when you're actually working in an office, you get that communication a little bit better. You can stand up from your desk, go to another person's office, instead of sending an email or giving a call. And from working remotely, I mean, all you have is email. And I mean, you can pick up the phone, but it's not the same. You definitely need that engagement with your coworkers, with your staff members. So I absolutely agree. So moving on to the next question. So right now, it's definitely hard for some people, to stay optimistic throughout these times. So what do you recommend to stay optimistic? I know we've heard, so we did have a session. It was called Dynamic Women to Women. It was about 2 weeks ago. We had some doctors join us, and we went through, mental health, physical health, and they mentioned that, there are certain ways you can help your body be optimistic. So in a situation someone's in a leadership role, how do they stay optimistic for their employees? Do you recommend some sort of exercises like yoga, meditation? What are your tips or insights about that?
Well, all the above,
Mm-hmm.
everything. I think you've got to do, and you've got to know what works for you. For my whole adult life, I've been a morning guy. So I get up every morning, I exercise, ride a bike, do cardio, do a little bit of weight training. I've done that for my whole adult life. And
Mm-hmm.
that's key. And you ought to Google, everybody should Google what effective or successful people do before 7 a.m. That'd be a good,
Mm-hmm.
don't Google it now, but Google it when you're not listening to me. And there's some good tips. And what you'll find is there's several things that people have in common. And we're talking leaders of major corporations. If I were to call their names, everybody would know them. And I don't want to call their names because I don't agree with everything they
Of
stand for.
course.
But highly effective and successful people typically do several things early in the morning. Number one, they get some kind of physical fitness routine in. Number two, they have some kind of spiritual experience, whether it's prayer, meditation, spiritual reading their Bible, whatever they do, works for them. And the third thing, one of the things they also do is they also, almost all of them, have good nutrition, take in some kind of good nutrition, whether it's some kind of a shake, protein shake, or they juice greens or whatever it is or something. So they pay attention to mind, their body and their
Mm-hmm.
soul or their spirit, and they do all those things. And so I think that's one thing that you want to do. That's good for everybody all the time, regular life. And if you don't have those routines in place, then I would encourage you to do them. I've done it early in the morning. I had kids pretty young in life, and I've always, for me, if it didn't happen before 6:30, it wasn't going to happen because my kids were going to be up, and then you know how it is. You're off to,
The day starts.
yeah, it does. The day starts. So I've gotten up between 4 and 4:30 for the last 35 years anyway,
Wow.
and have done that. And it works for me. Now that doesn't work for everybody, but whatever it is, have a routine that does that. The second thing in our new world, I would suggest that there's several things that you can do to stay sane and stay positive. And remember this, everything rises and falls on leadership. And if you're the leader of your business or your organization, your people are never going to be any higher than you are. And then that's attitudinal as well, not just from a performance standpoint or production, but that's for their attitude they have. You set the tone and the attitude for the organization. So here's a few things one that you can do. One of the things that I do is I force myself to get up and walk around. I do Teams meetings or Zoom meetings like this literally all day, every day. And what I have done is I block a time where my meetings don't run for the full hour, they run for 50 minutes. And that gives me a chance. And, here in El Paso, where we live, I can go outside every day. Sometimes I move my meetings to outside and I will literally sit outside on my back patio. It's conducive to that and just enjoy being outside and get a break, get out of my office. I've got a nice, very nice home office, but still gets a little close the walls, start closing it inside all the time. And so I do that. I force myself to get up, walk around just like I would at an office, get outside. And the other thing that you can do to stay positive is make sure that you are building in wins. And what I mean by that, especially if you're the leader, I try to end my day with positive conversations with positive people. So if I let's say I'm in sales, I may schedule a meeting with a client that I know wants to do business with me toward the end of the day. If I'm having a conversation with an employee, I may schedule those more positive conversations toward the end of the day. And the reason I do that is I end on a positive note and it
Of
just makes
course.
things better. I try to start my day with the same kind of meetings as well. And those are a few things that you can do. Certainly, I'm sure, vitamin D3 is a good vitamin you need to take if you're not getting enough sunlight. And from a nutritional standpoint, I don't want to give out medical advice. You've already had those kind of people here. But there's a number of things. Our bodies are machines. We have to take in good nutrition. I try to focus on that and make sure that I'm eating the right kind of stuff and to feed the machine, to stay positive. The other thing I do is, I've been working from home since March, like a lot of people have. And as a public speaker, that's one of the things I've done. I'm used to getting on an airplane and travel. All that's gone. So it's been a
Right.
major lifestyle adjustment for me. And I have renewed some old friendships and relationships over the phone or video conferencing
Mm-hmm.
like this. People that I refer to them as batteries, they just charge me up. You talk to them, you don't even have to talk about problems or issues. You just talk to them for a little bit and they're I call them life enrichers or life enhancers. But those are a few things that might help.
Awesome. No, and I think what you said rings so true. Ending your day in a positive note. I mean, there's a reason why people say don't go to bed angry or upset with your spouse. It's kind of the same situation. If you're in a leadership role, I mean, don't end the day in a negative note with your employees. So I definitely agree with that. And Dr. Mitchell, I did want to say that we already have some questions coming in from the audience. Would you like to answer
Great.
those as they come in?
I'd rather meet the needs of the people. So whatever they have,
Definitely.
absolutely.
Yeah. So we do have Stephanie Delgado asking via the chat box, how do you neutralize passive aggressive behavior at work?
That's something we all face, and it's a challenge, and because it's passive aggressive. And people who are really good at passive aggressive behavior can deny that there's any aggressive piece or negative piece. And that's why it's passive aggressive. They do it in such a way that they can always say, "Oh, I didn't mean it in a bad way." Yeah, you did. Who do you think you're kidding? And so I'm always the best thing to do. This is what I try to do is passive aggressive behavior or any kind of negative behavior is typically a result of some kind of a circumstance. And it could be that they don't like somebody. It could be they don't like a circumstance or a situation. There's normally something they're reacting to. Some people are just passive aggressive in their nature. They use those barbs just to get you. So what I do is, I'm going to date myself here. Years ago, there was a TV show it actually started out as a radio show called Dragnet. And there was a Sergeant Joe Friday, and you probably heard this, you may not know where it came from, but he'd say, "Just the facts, ma'am, just the facts." It was the most boring show you've ever seen from a dramatic or so. I mean, everybody talked monotone all the time, but he would always say just the facts. And so what I do when people are passive aggressive is I will deal with the facts
Hmm.
and leave the emotion out. You know, I was a counselor for many years. One of my PhDs is in psychology. And
Mhm.
when I would counsel couples, I would write down their complaints, physically write
Mhm.
down their complaints about their spouse or significant other. And then I would read it back to them. And I can't tell you how many times, whenever I'd be reading back their complaints, where whoever was doing the complaining would say, Dr. Mitchell, you got to put some emotion into that. It doesn't sound like it's that big a deal when you read it like that. The truth is, it's
That's
not
because it's
that
not a
big a
big
deal.
deal.
Yeah, exactly. It's not. And that's why, as a boss, as an executive, as a leader, whenever I have passive aggressive behavior, I want to know what the facts are.
Mhm.
And I don't let people get away with it. So let's say somebody takes kind of a shot. I'll call them out on it, not necessarily in front of the room,
Mhm.
but if they do it, if they act passive aggressively in front of the room, in my mind, they opened up the door to be free game. Now I won't attack them, but I'll say, what's the real issue? What are you getting?
Mhm.
And then I'll ask them for what's the solution.
Mhm.
You know, if somebody says, well, I don't know why they got that project, let's just say, you know, or well, they always get the good ones, something like
Okay.
that.
Right.
I would I would call them out, not necessarily publicly for something like that, because it might embarrass the other person in the room. But I would say, you made a comment about they always get the good ones. Give me your thoughts on that. Oh, well, no, I didn't mean anything by it. Well, no, you did, or
No,
you
you
wouldn't
did
have said.
because you said it. Right.
And I don't let them have a pass. I don't let them go.
Mhm.
And typically, they would, if they really didn't mean it, they'll back off a little bit. But they always meant it, or they wouldn't have said it. You know, uh, there's an old expression. You know, sometimes people drink a little bit and they will run their mouth. And what I've learned is, drunken words are sober thoughts. Oftentimes, well, it's
Right.
also true. Whenever someone gets angry, or upset, or frustrated, angry words are calm thoughts. It's what they're thinking in their head. They never say, but when they get mad, they say it. And so I would call them out on it. And then I would always deal with the facts. Never let it be about personality.
Mhm.
Never, 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 never let it be about personality. Always deal with the facts. Always deal with the evidence and lead with that. And then confront them with that. And I could go into much more depth, but what I do is I call attention to it.
Mhm.
I find out, I resolve the initial situation, whatever they're referring to. Let's solve that problem and make them, if possible, make them come up with a solution. And oftentimes, when people are being passive aggressive, they don't know the whole story
Mm.
and they're just looking at it from their perspective, or they have a personal agenda. I don't put up with any of that. Bottom line, as a business, for this is a business, as a bottom line, we need to make money. Our people are our greatest value, they're our greatest asset, but we need to make money. You tell me, if you were in my shoes, what would you do? And,
Definitely.
and then I enlighten them of the things that they're not aware of that caused me to make that decision. I know it's a long answer to a short question. Spend a lot of time there. I don't know if that doesn't answer their question. Please
Mhm.
uh, ask some more, and we'll dive.
Definitely. Yeah, no,
Okay.
I think it's a great answer. And actually the saying, what you said, that saying, we have a, I don't know if you know Spanish, Dr. Mitchell, but there is a
I
saying in
just
Spanish that says, entre broma y broma, la verdad se asoma. So,
Yep,
right?
exactly. That's exactly right. And I agree. Absolutely.
Awesome. Alrighty. So we still have questions coming in through the Q&A panel. So reminder, if you have questions, we are here to answer them. Well, Dr. Mitchell is here to answer them. So we also have some love coming in from Facebook. We have Pat Freddy on Facebook saying, Dr. Bill
Oh,
Mitchell is awesome.
well, so is she. Hello, Pat. I love you. You know that. You're a wonderful lady.
Alrighty. So we have Ms. Jessica Garcia asking, do you recommend exercising early in the morning or at night?
I think you've got to do what works for you. I recommend early in the morning, and I've done a little bit of research on this. There's something that happens. There's endorphins, dopamine, a lot of things, adrenaline that are released when you exercise. And that's why I exercise in the morning, because that sets me for the day. There's all kinds of science about people who run or do cardio in the morning and how it gets their brain firing, wakes everything up, and allows you to concentrate and to think and be more alert, more active, and more positive through the day. So personally, I do it in the morning. I've done that for years. I've tried at different times because of the stages of life my family was at to run in the evenings and those kinds of things, and I've done it, but never with consistency. I have found that there's just so much that can happen through the day.
Right.
And by the end of the day, I'm exhausted. And there's also a lift that if it's something you struggle with, exercising, if that's a discipline you struggle with, that's why I get it done in the morning, because now it's done. I can go through the day and not feel guilty. And if you don't enjoy exercise, then you're dreading it all day long. But you get it done first thing in the morning. You know, Mark Twain used to joke, he said, you know, if you have to eat a frog, do it the first thing in the morning, and then the day can get better from there. Now, why you would ever have to eat a frog, I don't know. That's what Mark Twain said. And so I try to get those things that I don't necessarily enjoy exercise. I don't like running. I've run marathons and everything else, but I don't enjoy it. It's just something I've had to discipline myself to do. But yes, definitely I would recommend, for me, do it in the morning, first thing, get it done, get it out of the way. That way it's done, and it just makes your day go better. Yes.
Yeah, I think that's a great answer, because I mean, that's exactly what they say. If you have a list of things to do throughout the day, do the hardest thing first, the one that will take the
Absolutely.
longest. So I mean, if you don't enjoy exercising, I think it's a good idea to do it in the morning. Personally, I mean, I should take my own advice, right? But let's maybe something in the new year, right?
There you
Making
go. New
some.
Year's. There you go. Great start.
Alrighty, so let's move on to the next question coming from Ms. Guerrero. Question to Dr. Mitchell: where does your passion as a motivational speaker come from? Oh, that's a great question.
Um, my mom and dad. I don't want to spend too much time on this. You may have to shut me off, ma'am, because I get talking about this. Uh, my mom and dad were both raised as sharecroppers in the South in Alabama. And if you don't know what that is, those are people who basically lived as indentured servants, or I don't like to use other words, but they lived in a shack. My dad grew up in a 2-room shack with no running water, no electricity. Their kitchen was the front yard. He never had a pair of store-bought shoes till he was 15. They lived very, very poor. They lived off the land. They raised cotton, is what they raised in those days. He picked cotton by hand and plowed behind a mule. And he was a World War II generation. And so they grew up with nothing. And then they moved when my mom was expecting me, was actually pregnant with me, here to El Paso. So I'm born and raised El Paso, Barrio Northeast all day, brother. Bring it. But and we grew up in a working class, poor neighborhood here in Northeast, be honest with you, a little cinder block home. And we never really had anything. But the fact that we had water, running water and electricity, we were rich as far as they were concerned. And my dad and mom, I won't go into everything, but their vocation, my mom was a stay-at-home mom. She supported dad in what he did. And his vocation, his job was helping people. And I saw the difference that you can make when you bring value to people. And he did it one at the time. And so when I was given the opportunity to start doing motivational speaking, I realized I can change lives. You know, most people spend the first half of their life looking for success, and the second half of their life looking for significance. That's from a book called Halftime by Buford. And I I was fortunate. I've been able to enjoy success, whatever that means. But I do want to make a difference. You know, I want to have significance. I want to know that there's things that are going to go on when I'm done, when I'm dead, candidly. And that motivational speaking, if I know I can enhance somebody's life or change somebody's life or make their life better, even if I can just make their day better, then I've made a difference. And, you know, life is short at best. And the only thing that really matters is the relationships we have. You never see a Brinks truck or a Wells Fargo truck following a hearse to the graveyard. You don't take any of your money with you. And so I've been fortunate in that area, and I'm not opposed to making money and all that, but you know, you don't take it with you. And so it's the relationships we have and the impact we have on lives that lives on in this world anyway, after we're gone. And that's my big motivation. I just want to help people.
No, I love that answer, because you definitely see some people taking their past to give excuses. And I love that message you're giving us. Use your past to make you great. um,
Absolutely.
so I love that. And whoever asked this question, thank you, because it's a great answer, and I love that. So I have the next question coming up here from an anonymous attendee, and it is, when are you most fully yourself? I'm not sure if I understand that question. Do you?
So I think I might. I'm pretty well. Let me address two things. One from my best time of day for working, and I know that's probably not the direction of the question, but my best time of day for working, when I'm at my optimum, my premium, for me is between 8 a.m. Mountain Standard Time and 12 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a morning person, and by 12 o'clock, I've already been up for, whatever, however many, quite a while, because I get up 4 o'clock. So I've been up for a
Mm-hmm.
few hours already, and have got a lot done and a lot accomplished. But between 8 and noon are my optimum times for thinking. So I schedule important meetings. If I'm doing these, since this is a new thing, I try to do these all in the morning time. That's just when I'm at my prime. As far as when I'm myself, when I got my grandkids on my lap, you know,
Oh.
but I'm pretty well what you see. Those of you who might know me, I don't know who all, I know Pat knows me a little bit, but what you see is what you get. I'm pretty comfortable in my own skin. I don't put on airs. I don't try to be something I'm not. I don't let other people define me or their opinions define how I should be or who I should be. And the people here in the community, I've been here my whole life, that know me. What you see is what you get. And I have found that being myself, the true me, is who I want to be all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to make you listen to a quick story. Years ago, I got called in to my boss's office. I had offended his executive assistant, who was also his daughter. Not a
Oh.
good thing. And I'm one of those people that think everything's funny. I've got a sense of humor. I love to laugh. You can't hurt my feelings. My friends and family would say, my wife would say, you can't hurt your feelings because you're not smart enough to know when people are insulting you. And so that's probably true. But I try to never, we were just raised joking around. I'm maybe a little overconfident. Some might call it arrogant, but I joke about everything. Anyway, so 30 years ago, I'm working for this guy, and I made his daughter mad, and he called me in, and he said, "Hey, you offended her." I said, "I was just teasing. And it wasn't anything inappropriate or anything like that. I was just joking around."
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "I was just teasing, and it's just, I said, look, that's just me. I joke around." And I'll never forget, he was a big old guy, had big old fists. He paid his way through college as a bare knuckle prize fighter in the streets of Atlanta during the Depression. This guy was a big old man. He was an old man.
Mm.
I'll never forget, he pointed his big finger at me and he said, "You know what? If that's just you, then you need to change." Well,
Ooh.
today, you know, people would trot to HR and file a grievance. That was good advice, y'all. Because if being me doesn't work, then I need to work on me.
Uh-huh.
We live in a day and age where everybody says, just, you're free to be yourself. You're free to be yourself. Well, if yourself works, but we need to be working on ourselves. If my dad used to say, your liberty, your freedom's in where my nose begins. And we live in a day and age where we want everybody to accept us for everything and live in a judgment-free world. I don't know what planet y'all are from. That's not reality. I mean, now
Yeah.
it'd be great if it was, and I wish it was. Look, for instance, if I hadn't told y'all I was from Northeast, if I had just said I grew up in El Paso, went to a high school here in El Paso, where do you think I went? Everybody would say Coronado. Unless you're young, you'd say Franklin. Now I'm going to put you on the spot, Adali.
Mhm.
Why would people say that and be very honest, why would people guess, and I've asked that question 1,000 times, why would people guess that I went to Coronado or Franklin?
I mean, people are biased. They
But what
judge
about me
from
would make them say that? Yeah, what about
you're you're a wealthy white male.
rich white guy?
Mhm.
Exactly. Thank you for your honesty. That proves your prejudice.
Of course.
I didn't say
I
now.
mean,
I didn't say racist. Okay,
You
there's a difference.
you
We
asked the
prejudge,
right question.
yeah, we prejudge based. All of us do this. We prejudge based upon previous knowledge and or experience. That's how we survive. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, prejudice in a negative racist way. There's no place for that as far as I'm concerned. But everybody is going to judge everybody else based upon the color of their hair, the color of the skin, the color of their eyes, kind of car they drive, kind of clothes they wear, the way they wear their hair, if they have hair, don't have hair, the way where they live. All of those things. The fact that I graduated from Irvin High School, El Paso's first all gifted and talented high school, I'm kidding about that, obviously, doesn't, there's people who I've literally had automatically they say, oh, you went to Irvin? Not only that, the year I went, we made the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson for having the highest teen pregnancy rate in the nation and the highest drug rate, arrest rate. I didn't contribute to either one of those statistics, but yeah, I went to Irvin, but people will automatically just kind of, frown on me. It's okay. I don't care. You're not going to define me. But that just shows that we are. The reason I say that is because it's very important that we be able to be ourselves, but we need to be the kind of person that works. That works. And when I say works, I don't mean we just do our job, but we're effective. And we work on ourselves to make us that way. There's a lot of things I was raised with. I had to learn new habits and new things because they weren't going to be conducive to where I wanted to go in life. But you never have to violate your values, your morals, or your principles to do that. So
I love that. And actually, this is my question to you with that, with what you just said. So you did say that it is important to stay true to yourself, but at the same time, be aware that you do need to work on yourself. You can't stop that because you need to keep growing, or that ideally that's what you want to do. So how do you stay true to yourself, but at the same time be aware of things that you might need to change about yourself?
So here's the thing. There's a misconception, and I don't want to get too deep into this or too far off, but I think there's value in this. There's a big misconception today that's being propagated that everybody can be however they want to be. Well, what if I want to be a mass murderer? Is that okay?
I don't think so.
Okay, but so then if you're one of those people who say, you know what, you just need to be true to yourself. Well, what if that's me being true to myself? So nobody really believes it's okay to just be however you want to be, because nobody's going to say, yeah, it's okay to be a mass murderer. Because if you carry that line of thinking to an extreme, obviously it does not work.
Right.
So what we've done is we've created this mindset in our culture that everybody can think however they want to think and feel however they want to feel and do whatever they want, as long as it doesn't affect me. You can be whatever you want. As long as, well, that's not right either. And so what I believe that we all have core values. I happen to be a Christian, for instance, and I believe the Bible. And so that's my core values are established around that. I don't beat people over the head with it. Don't apologize for it. I'm never going to violate those. My ethics, my moral value, my code, I'm going to do my best not to violate. I don't want to say never violate. Do my best. I have many times, unfortunately, but I'm going to do my best. I don't have to violate that and in order to be successful. I can be true to myself and still work on being a better me. Saying that I need to improve in certain areas is not saying I'm not good enough. It's just saying I want to be better. Saying I want to be a better dad or grandpa or spouse or whatever it is, that doesn't mean that I don't want to still try and that I'm not good enough. It just means I always want to be better for the people I care about, the people I love. And so being true to ourselves is true to our core values. Very seldom have I ever seen somebody where their real core values and trying to be a better person came in conflict. But that has become for some people an excuse to not strive to be better. And I'm being I know I'm playing with my cards face up. Don't mean to be offensive, but I'd rather help you than tell a person what they want to hear. So, and I would gladly have that discussion with any. And by the way, I've had that discussion with a lot of people. Well, I should be free to be just me. That's right. And I can be free to be me. And people forget that goes both ways. They want everybody to accept them, but yet they don't always accept everybody else. And we've seen a lot of that, especially in recent years. Sad.
Definitely. Yeah, I know. Thank you for that answer, Dr. Mitchell. We do have more questions coming in from the attendee. Let's go ahead and spend some time there. So we have an anonymous attendee asking, do you have any tips on how to not take work stress home? Thank you.
Yes, if you're already at home, it makes it more difficult
That's
because
right.
work
Yes.
stress at home, and sometimes. So there's a few things that I'm going to recommend that you do. Number one, make a priority list at the end of each day, whether you're working at home or you're working um, in your office or whatever you do. What I would recommend that you do is toward the end of your day. Let's say you're done at 5 o'clock. About 10 to 5, I would make a priority list, no more than 4 or 5 things for the next day. Whatever you've got to get done the next day, make a priority list and leave it on your desk at work, or leave it in your briefcase or in your computer. Close your computer, whatever. If you're working remotely from home, put it there, and then that helps to close the day, because now you know these are things I've got to do. I know what you don't have to think about them through the day. You know, first thing tomorrow morning, you're going to start going through this priority list and check off everything you can. And the way you work on that is you start on number one, you prioritize them. You not only make a list, but you prioritize them 1 through 5 or 10. And then as soon as you get in tomorrow morning, you start working on number one. And you get as far as you can on number one. Hopefully you finish it. Then you go to number two. Let's say you can't get done with number two, you go as far as you can, and then you go to number three. You get number three done, and you go back to number two. Can I do anything else on it? No, I'm still waiting for a phone call. All right, then I'll go to number four. And you do that throughout the day. Anything that doesn't get accomplished that day goes on your list for the next day. And I suggest if it's on your priority list for a whole week, it's probably not a priority, or you'd have got it done. But that helps bring an end to the day. Okay, that just helps stop. Another thing that I would suggest that you do is and let me go on and address this, because this is really a part of what we advertise this to be about. How do we deal with if you have to close your business? How do you deal with the stress of that and all those things? So let me just give you a real quick tip. I want to make sure I share this with everybody. I would suggest that you make a list of all the things that you worry about. If it's work related and you bring that stress home or whatever, or if it's just in line, everything that you worry about. All right. So for instance, if I were going to make a list, I'm worried about what's happening with our election. What the heck's going on, politics in general in America. I'm not smart enough to be political. I don't like to have those discussions, but our politics. I'm worried about COVID, what's going on with COVID. I've had COVID. I tested positive 6 weeks ago. I still got a little bit of a cough. Finally, I'm over it. I fought it. I was having 103 temperature. I was really sick for a few weeks. So COVID, don't want any of my family to get it. Worried about my finances, worried about whatever it is that you worry. Make a list of all your things that cause you stress or worry. And then I want you to draw a circle on your piece of paper, draw a big circle, and look at your list and everything that you can change, that you have control over. Not a little bit of influence, but you can come up with a plan to deal with it and fix it. You put it inside that circle. That circle is your circle or your sphere of influence. So everything that I put inside there, I have control over, I can do. Okay. That's the one thing. And then everything that doesn't go in there, by the way, if you put it in your circle, you come up with a plan. Like your finances, what am I going to do? Get on a budget. Whenever I talk to people who have financial problem, I always say, let me see your budget. And they say, my what? I've hardly ever dealt with anybody who has financial issues who have a budget. So get on a budget, whatever that is. You come up with a solution, and that's how you know if it belongs in your circle or not. Everything on the outside, you decide to do two things: accept. It doesn't mean I approve of it, doesn't mean I like it, but I'm going to accept it. It is what it is. The outcome of the election doesn't matter who you voted for. Decide, I'm going to accept it. It is what it is. I did my part. I voted. I can't control it. 4 years. If I don't like the outcome, I'll vote again. If I like the outcome, I'll still vote again in 4 years, whatever. Okay. Mm-hmm. And so you accept it is what it is, and then you adjust. So you may have to adjust to some things. I've had to adjust living from home, working from home rather. I've had to make some adjustments. And if I don't have a choice, it is what it is. Accept and adjust. Don't worry about things you cannot change or control. And by going through this physical exercise and physically writing things down and physically looking at it, and then whenever you start worrying, let's say I start worrying about COVID again, you know what? I've already accepted it. I've adjusted. It's not worth my time. The election, you know what? It is what it is. I'm not going to worry about it. I can't control how people behave. They're going to act how they want to act. That's on them. They don't know me. I don't know them. Who cares? Whatever it is, you accept and adjust. And then the things inside, you come up with a solution to. And so I hope that helps. Read the original question one more time. I had one more thought there.
Let me
I'm sorry
see.
if it's still there.
Um, I think it was this one. Do you have any tips on how to not take work
Take work.
stress
Oh,
home?
right, right. That's right. And so that's the one thing that I do as well is that priority list. That is my way of closing my day and refusing. So when I'm at home and I start thinking about work stress, I say, you know what? Don't have to worry about it. Couple things that I could suggest you do: detach from this.
Yeah.
Put it on a charger when you get home and leave it there. If you're the boss, let people know. If it's an emergency, call 911. If it's important, call me.
Mm-hmm.
If it can kind of wait, send me a text.
Mm-hmm.
If it's not that important, send me an email.
Right.
That's my approach. But and then remember, our life should never define us. Typically, the reason we bring work stress home oftentimes is because we didn't make that priority list. We've got things we didn't finish through the day. We're not working efficiently during the day, or we're bringing, especially if it's a business we own, we're bringing its financial worry because it impacts us. And
Mm-hmm.
that's why getting our personal life, like our personal finances, taken care of, having a strategy, a strategic plan that you're going to work for your business. That's what I do. I design strategic plans for companies so that you know exactly what you're doing every day because the strategy's already been laid out or should be. We've got a clear path. We know these are the activities that are going to get us the results we need. So I don't have to worry about it because I know that I'm doing the things that will give me the results. And that helps. All those things help to manage your work stress and then leave them at work. And if you need to deal with something so it's not hanging over your head, I'd rather stay 5 or 10 or 20 minutes late and get it done with so I can leave it at work than come home and be worrying about it the next day, throughout the evening, to have to deal with it the next day, especially if it's a crucial conversation with somebody.
Definitely. And I love your comment about the list. I do that almost every day before I leave work. So I think it works. And then that exercise you mentioned for small business owners, coping with, uh, maybe your business closing. It's a great exercise. We are going to have this recorded session on our YouTube channel as well as our Facebook, and we're going to be posting it on LinkedIn once the session is over. So if you ever want to go back and listen to this exercise, do that because I think it's a great way, to get a little bit of control over your emotions and everything, because obviously owning a small business, you are the owner, it's your life. So it definitely affects everyone. All righty, let's go ahead and move on. So we have Jackie Dominguez asking, is there any books you recommend for self-motivation?
Oh gosh, yeah. There's a lot of books. I read the book How to Win Friends and Influence People every year,
Mm,
by Dale Carnegie. Think and Grow Rich. Now these are old books, okay. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. He was charged by Andrew Carnegie, one of the wealthiest men at the time, to figure out what makes people successful and to read those things. I happen to I like, my dad taught me when you read a book, you eat the meat and you spit out the bones. So I'll read stuff and I may not enjoy everything, and you don't have to agree. Authors are people just like you and I. They're no different. I've written some things. We're all human, and you don't have to agree with everything in a book. Just like you don't have to agree with everything a person believes to be their friend, I don't have to agree with everything in a book to get good stuff out of it. Sometimes the nuggets I get out of a book aren't even anything the author actually said. That's the author quoting somebody else. And so there's a number of different things that I like to read like that I read every year. The two that I just mentioned. Another really good one is How to Stop Worrying and Start Living by
mhm,
Dale Carnegie. Those are some really good ones. I like a guy, he's a minister, but he writes a lot of books, Joel Osteen. I like to read his books. They're not real deep. They're not, I mean, you can read them in an evening, most of them. They're not, but he's got some really good thoughts and he quotes good people.
mm,
John Maxwell is another author, motivational leadership author. He's a friend of mine, but he's written 110 books. Great author. But those are some that I would start with. John Maxwell for sure, as well as Carnegie are the main ones.
All right. Well, there you have it, Ms. Dominguez, John Maxwell.
There you go.
So we do have another question from Ms. Dominguez. She is asking, as a parent, what can we do to keep our kids motivated now since most kids are doing virtual learning?
Oh boy, I've
That's a
got
tough one.
my wife and my kids. I've got one, two, three, four, five of my 8 children are teachers, and they're all
Oh,
teachers.
wow.
And so you can imagine what that is like. It
Mhm.
is a challenge. It's a lot of work, a lot of effort. A few things that I would say for you to do for the kids: try to have a set schedule for them and hold them to that. It's amazing the number of kids that aren't even showing up for the virtual learning. It's
Yes.
really sad, and it's parents just not being good parents. I know it's
Mhm.
tough, but you got to be involved. You got to take some extra effort. Several things. Number one, have clear set schedule. All right. Number two, have built into that schedule times of reward. So we homeschooled our kids anyway for
Mhm.
years. And so we experienced this before any COVID. And there would be a recess time. And when they achieved a certain amount of work or got certain things done, then they could play, they could go do whatever. And so I would encourage you to do that. The other thing I would recommend that you do, there's a number of things you can do. You can play games with them at lunchtime, reward them with good, healthy snacks. As a parent, I wasn't too particular about that. Healthy was cookies, to me. But hey, it's got all the ingredients. They're drinking milk. Milk's good for you. But I would create some kind of reward or award program for them. Check their work. Do as much as you can. Spend additional time with them. Kids at any age, but especially the elementary school age kids, they like time with parents, and even older kids do too. They won't admit it, but they do. So make sure you make some time. And then if there's time when homework needs to be done and you're doing some work from home, if possible, that you work together with them, sit at the table together. You're working on their stuff, they're working on theirs. So they're in the same room with you. Don't let them just hide in their bedroom or get locked in their bedroom, especially high school age kids, junior high and high school age kids. Those are a few
Definitely.
things I recommend. Absolutely.
Hmm. No, those
Those,
are great points, especially right now for parents that have to actually be at work and not working from home. So it's definitely hard. We actually have a fun question here on the Q&A. Did you play football at Irvin, and how tall are you?
okay. Not very well is the answer to the first question. I'm 6'3", yeah, and 200 none of your business pounds. Yeah, I did. I'm 6'3" and a little bit. Yeah,
Mhm.
and I weigh 225 pounds.
Of course. We have another attendee asking, what high school did you go to? And you said Irvin High School.
Fight rockets, body over feet, baby. I was born in the Diablo Clinic, the Devil's Hospital, in the Devil's Triangle, on
Oh,
Park Street. Yep, that's where I was born.
awesome. So we have another attendee asking if we could please do a second part to this webinar. So our attendees are liking a lot your answers. Also, may we have his contact information in case we have further questions. I don't know if you want to share your email.
Sure, sure. Or LinkedIn. The best way to get a
LinkedIn.
hold of me, I'm pretty good about monitoring LinkedIn. So I'm Dr. Bill Mitchell on LinkedIn. Connect with me on LinkedIn is the best way. You can email me at bill@moretalent, MORETALENT, one word. Um, Honestly, I check LinkedIn more than I do my email. I check it once a day. LinkedIn pops up and I see it. But yeah, feel free, reach out to me. Be glad to chat with you.
Awesome, great. So let me check here. I know you mentioned at the beginning how COVID-19 has affected your line of business. Do you want to go a little bit more into detail? I know you mentioned obviously working from home, you travel a lot. So talk to us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. As a public speaker and as a consultant, you fly around and meet with, companies all over wherever and everything. And travel just stopped there for a while. And so a lot of stuff went on this. And as a motivational speaker, as a public speaker, as a corporate trainer, you can only do so much in this
Right.
venture. And candidly, people are not necessarily willing to pay what they normally
Hmm.
would pay because it's not real, it's not in real life. And I have done a lot more consulting. It's made me take a step back and reevaluate
Hmm.
what I do. And I am planning on continuing even when COVID is no more. I may do a little bit, but I really have embraced working from home, working remotely,
Hmm.
doing this. I like people, I like being with people, but I am embracing this right now and I plan on keeping it up. I have found that there's a lot of time that is saved by working remotely like this, travel time, time in the car, for me in airports, flying, all that, being away from home. So I'm really embracing it. And I think with anybody that goes through this, the key is, you know, and I'm going to be as cliche as I can be. I apologize. Bloom where you're planted, make lemonade, whatever you pick the cliche. But I mean that, and I really have.
Right.
I'm having a blast. I'm having a good time. I hike. I live up on the mountain here in El Paso, and I hike. The state park almost is out my back door almost, and
Mhm.
I hike up there all the time, and I just enjoy it. So make the most of it.
Definitely. And I mean, this is what this session was about, thriving and surviving. So, not making this pandemic, bring you down. So, I definitely agree to that. And we have another question coming in from Facebook, actually, Facebook message. And it says, so one of the biggest challenges as business owners we're facing right now is unsteadiness of sales and customer retention during COVID. Do you have any tips, tricks, or advice for struggling small business owners in El Paso during the holidays?
Yeah. Focus, focus, focus. This gives you a chance. And even bigger companies are going through this. The company that I'm COO for, we just went through a big expense reduction, but it
Hmm.
allows you to really focus on what is the most important. What is your key business? What's your core business? Who are your core customers? There's an old principle called the Pareto principle. It's the 80/20 principle. And the idea is that 80% of your business is going to come from 20% of your customers. And that's not always true. About 80% of your production is going to come from 20% of your employees. And so it gives you a chance to really stop and refocus and align your priorities. And from a just very practical look at your business expenses. I know companies are, because of this, companies that used to provide coffee for their employees aren't doing it anymore now. And that means it'll always be that way. And I'm not saying you have to tighten your belt that tight, but you know, I would look at all of my expenses line by line and say, is this money I need to spend? And so tighten my belt. That's first things. You can't always control. The old expression is a penny saved is a penny earned.
Hmm.
And so you need to really look at where's your money going. And the litmus test is, how does this help my business? There's a lot of things that we spend money on sometimes that really don't help our business. I know people who advertise. They spend money on advertising. I'm not opposed to advertising. They spend money on advertising. I say, how much business are you getting out of your advertising? Oh, a lot of it. Really, how do you know?
Hmm.
They don't track it. They have no idea.
Right.
And I've had companies that cut out their entire marketing budgets for a period because they weren't being strategic about. In your marketing, you got to be, who are you marketing to? What are you marketing about? And by the way, if however your marketing doesn't track in today's day and age, if they're not tracking the results and you can't tell you're getting results from marketing, don't spend the money on it. So really watch your money. The second thing that I would do is I would pay attention to that 20% or whatever it is of your customers. Show them some extra love,
Hmm.
because the customer you have is the most important customer to invest in, especially if your business is such that you can retain those customers and they can continue to do business with you. I would do whatever I could to get as much out of them as I can in a good way, and make sure that you're taking good care of them. Customer experience, customer service is a priority in a time like this, and I would work very diligently to pay very close attention to them. And then I would really look at, when I say focus, where is my actual revenue coming from? And
Right.
when I say that, I'm not talking about necessarily the service you provide or the product you sell, but the efforts you personally make and your team make. What
Hmm.
is actually generating the revenue? And then once you figure that out, do more of that. Figure out a way to do more of that. And I'd be glad to talk to you about how to do that. But absolutely, that'd be the approach I take.
Definitely. Thank you for that answer. I think that's a very important topic of discussion, especially for small business owners in our community. And I agree. I mean, I am a marketing specialist. This is what I study. So you have to make sure you have a way to measure any campaigns you have, any money you're spending on advertising and marketing. We have one more question coming in, and we're about to end the session. So, are you active on any other platforms other than LinkedIn?
No, no, I've got a Facebook that I hadn't been on in a
Mhm,
year, and I took a hiatus from social media
mhm,
just because of the, it's part of managing my mindset and everything. And I would just encourage everybody. Social media, I know it's a part of everybody's lives and everything. I have not looked at any other social media than LinkedIn because it's professional. Okay,
mhm,
I haven't looked at any of the other social medias or anything for well over a year, and I don't miss it. I don't need somebody else's. I got enough drama in my own life with 8 kids.
that's right.
I don't need to borrow anybody else's drama. And the reality is, social media is not real life. People put up
Mhm,
there whatever they want people to see and believe. And I know that it's part of life and it's a great way for business. And I'm not saying you shouldn't leverage it for your business. Absolutely. And the other thing, I don't want my personal life lived out in front of everybody.
mhm.
Maybe I'm old school and old fashioned. Um, I don't want to share stuff with 3,800 of my closest friends and colleagues. You know what I mean? If you're my
Right.
friend, we're going to have coffee once in a while. You know what I mean? It's not gonna be, oh yeah, I'm friends with them. Yeah, I have no idea who they are. And so and I don't care about people doing my business as much as I don't need the drama and the brain dead. And I would encourage all of you, take us a break from social media over the holidays, especially. You don't need to see everybody's turkey dinner and just be people in the room.
Mhm,
Now, if you're doing it to interact with your family or something or close friends, that's different. But be with the people that I'm going to give you one piece of advice that you didn't ask. I heard somebody say one time, we should worry about the people who will attend our funeral.
mm,
If I were to die today, I doubt I don't even know how many friends I have on Facebook, 1,800, 3,800. I doubt all 3,800 of those people would attend my funeral.
right.
And those are the people we really ought to be concerned about and spend our time with and make decisions that considering them. That's what I try to do. And social media is not reality. And there's a whole psychology that's created as a result of the unrealistic world that social media has created. It's sad to me.
Definitely,
Sorry,
yes.
I'm an old man. That's my opinion. But
No,
love to see you on LinkedIn. Okay. I'll be on LinkedIn.
there you go, LinkedIn detox for the holidays. That's good advice for the social media pages. And our session is about over now. I do want to take some time to thank you on behalf of our CEO, Cindy Ramos Davidson. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule. Very great tips and tricks and advice from you. We definitely appreciate it. We will be making this session into a podcast. So
Sure.
go ahead, everyone, look out for that. If you want to listen to this session while you drive to get groceries or to work, make sure you stay tuned. This is also pre-recorded, so we will go. It's going to be on our social media platforms, LinkedIn, YouTube. So take a look at that. Please join us in about exactly a week. Actually, next Tuesday we have another session with UT Health on safety and health battling COVID-19. So go ahead and tune in, register. Link is on our Facebook and all our social media platforms. Thank you so much, Dr. Mitchell. We
My
appreciate
pleasure.